Morning YouTube, how are you guys? It's Monday morning. Been sick all weekend, so please bear with me if I break out into a coughing fit. But let's talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 10 episode reunion part 3. Did you watch it, guys? I watched it and it was a lot. It was a lot. So let's just get into it. So they start off this week where they left off last week talking about Nene in the handicap space, and Kim's really offended by that. And Nene said, look, I was with somebody who has a handicap, and Greg has a handicap, so I was okay to be in that space. And so of course, Kim doesn't agree and says she's lying and all that stuff. So Nene says with all the conditions that Kim has had, the surgeries and the heart conditions and the thyroid and everything else, where's her scooter? She should be in a handicap space. So of course, Kim just blows all that off. They move on to Tyrone, and they ask Sheree about her relationship with Tyrone, and she says everything's going fine, that he should be out in a couple months. And so then Andy asks her what happens if he loses his appeal, that he'll be in there for another couple of years. Well, Sheree says, well, if he doesn't win that appeal, then I'm out. I'm not waiting around for Tyrone. And so they're like, what? Your soulmate? And she's like, I'm not waiting around. Supposedly, she's dating other people right now. She said she's still alive. She can have fun. But she's not waiting on Tyrone. So we already know Tyrone did not get his appeal approved. So he's in there. And she's probably on to the next. They ask about Nene and her involvement with Tyrone, and she says, the same old thing. She was tired of everyone asking her about Tyrone, and, who was he, and did they date, and all this other stuff. And of course, she maintains they never dated, they never had any kind of relationship. And, people were like, well, who was asking? Because, you kind of outed yourself from the show saying y'all never dated. And Kandi said she wasn't even going there with her question. She had never even considered the fact that they may have dated. So, Nene maintains that she'd been asked a million times. Sheree brings up the tweet where people were asking Nene online about it, and Nene responds that she didn't date him, but she definitely gave him, fellatio. And so they ask her about that. Why did you tweet that? Did you do that? And she says, no. It was just one of those things like, of course I did this. Of course I did that. You keep asking me. I'm just going to say, of course. I didn't believe that. I really believe that something went on with her and Tyrone because she's too defensive and she's trying to backpedal now and cover it up. But they didn't stay on that long. They had way bigger fish to fry. So Portia asked Sheree, why would you tie yourself up with somebody who's not available? There's plenty of other men out here. Why Tyrone? And she says, people pick their mates for all kinds of reasons. And there are people out here dating married men. They aren't available either, but they date them too. So then Andy says he's hearing echoes in the ceiling of Nene saying, close your legs to married men. Well, Kim decides to pipe up and say, Greg was married when Nene met him. And Nene says, that's a lie. And so she says, let's just say Greg was married. That's in the past. What does that have to do with today? What does that have to do with now? And she said, you were the one over there stripping in Oasis for 20 years. And she's like, what? Stripping in Oasis? And so Andy and everyone was like shocked. Like, what? She was, yeah, you were stripping in Oasis for 20 years, wearing a nurse's costume. And you didn't want that to come out. So, it was good. So Kim says, I was not stripping in a club. And she said, and you were dating 2 married men. So when Nene said she was dating 2 married men, Andy asks, was it Big Papa? And so Kim was like, I never dated 2 married men. But then she also said, you mean the one who wrote you a check for $15,000? So I'm like, okay, so there is somebody who exists who wrote a check to Nene for $15,000. So you're telling her yourself, Kim? So Andy says to Kim, you're not going to like this next question. And he asked, did Big Papa ever leave his wife? So Nene goes, no, he did not. So Kim was like caught off guard. She was not expecting this reunion to go in this direction because all her tea is being spilled. So she's like, I don't know what happened to him, And so Nene's like, nah, he never left his wife. So next they get into the Kim versus Kenya thing. And Andy's asking Kim, like, why were you so hot for Kenya all season? Like, why were you attacking her? Where did that start? And Kim's like, I don't know where it started, and I didn't do anything, and she's attacking me. So Kenya is like, look, let's back it up. It started at Sheree's housewarming party, and, Kim came for me. So Kim tries to spin it, like, oh, I didn't think it was right for her to be down in the basement with the camera crew and all this other stuff. And so Kenya's like, well, no, it didn't start there. You started talking about my dress and my private parts falling out and all this stuff. And so the editors were on it, y'all. They were on it. They had all the flashbacks ready. And they showed Kim. She was going for Kenya even at that time, So Kim didn't really have a reason, and it just really devolves. And so, you know, Kim's only comeback is that they're jealous. Kenya's jealous. She wants what she has. She wants her life. And Kim's like, I don't want your life. I don't want anything that you have. I don't want to be you or anything like that. And so the women kind of defend, you know, Kenya. And, you know, Kandi even speaks up and says, nobody on this couch is jealous. We all have things going on in our own right. So, you know, whatever. So Kim says, that's why I have Tardy for the Party for 7 seasons. So Nene goes, why do you have Tardy for the Party? Like, what exactly? Why do you exactly have that show? And she's like, what? And she goes, you're acting like you're all big stuff over there. Why do you have the show? We all want to know why you still have Tardy for the Party. And really, I think America would like to know, because those ratings are in the toilet. And I really wonder if the reason why they brought Kim back this season is to try to get more publicity or exposure for that show, because people aren't watching Tardy for the Party like that. And the person who produces Tardy for the Party is now the new producer for Atlanta, and he's friends with Kim. So I think they brought that on for some sort of cross promotion, but it just totally backfailed. And I'm like, did she piss off that producer and he really came over here to, you know, get revenge? Like, what really happened? Because Kim looked horrible this season and this reunion. So Kenya and Kim are going into it, and Kenya can't stand the fact that she cannot see Kim's face, because Kim is keeping her back to her. So she says, Andy, can I get up and cross to the other couch, because I can't hear from behind her wig. So she walks over to the other couch, and she's confronting Kim over there. And one of the viewers wrote in and said, you know, Kim, you say that husbands and kids are off limits. Why do you go after Kenya's husband? And she just, you know, really didn't have a real response to that, you know. So ultimately, Kenya tells Kim, listen, you're just mad because you married an idiot who turned a hoe into a housewife. And Kim had no response. Oh my God, my throat is on fire. On fire, y'all. So then they get into Kim versus Kandi. This was a whole mess, y'all. A whole mess. So Kandi, of course, is offended that Kim put out there that she was trying to get with her. And Kim, she starts off trying to defend herself, saying, I was talking about our last trip to the Bahamas. And Kandi's like, what are you talking about, trip to Bahamas? She said, our last trip to the Bahamas. Oh my God, I cannot speak, y'all. She said, our last trip to the Bahamas, you were booed up in the bedroom with DJ Tracy while your kids were in the living room. So what are you saying? Nothing happened between us. Never in life did anything happen between us. I've never propositioned you. I've never been into you like that. Like, what are you even talking about? So y'all, when she dropped that bomb, everybody was like, what? And so Nene was just having a field day with that. And so Kim was like, I wasn't talking about that, and I was talking about Bahamas. And she really didn't have a comeback, of course, because she was exposed. So she's like, so Andy asks her, oh, okay, so what exactly happened in the Bahamas? Because you brought it up. You know, what exactly happened, Kim? And she says, I'm not talking about the Bahamas. Oh, I forgot to say that, you know, Kandi was upset because when she saw that on the show, she asked RHOA about it. And RHOA admitted that Kim did say that Kandi had tried to get with her and do oral sex on her. So then Kandi went to Kim, and Kim denied it, said it never happened. So then she asked Kim to correct it, tweet about it or whatever, and apparently Kim did tweet it and squashed it, and I don't know what it said. They didn't even show the tweet, you know, on the show, but apparently she did acknowledge that it never happened. So on the reunion, it was like Kim was really coming at her like, yeah, it happened and this and that. So when Kandi brought all of that up, and Andy said, well, what happened in the Bahamas? She goes, look, it's squashed. I tweeted about it. I've already addressed it. It's over. I'm not getting into DJ Tracy or none of that. So, I mean, Kim was flustered. She was not expecting to get on national TV and have her card pulled as badly as it is being pulled in this episode. So she's furious. Kandi also confronted Kim about her saying anything about her and Todd's relationship. She said, look, when I got with Todd, you and I weren't even cool. So you weren't even there for you to talk about, you know, all these threesomes and stuff. And that's what Kim was saying. I was talking about threesomes, and, you know, like, she really knew all this inside information. And Kandi said, look, you have been watching this show from the sidelines. You have been a fan, and now you come on this show and you try to confront me, and you're making judgments about me, and you weren't even there. And it was just really, really bad. And so Kim really tried to act like she had inside information, y'all. But Kandi was like, no, ma'am. And she said, I'm mad at you, Sheree, because you didn't even tell me that this happened, you know? And so she said, Sheree was like, well, I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do any of this stuff. And so Portia said, you know, you're the bone collector. And I was even thinking, well, we need a new bone collector because Sheree's not doing her job. And Cynthia said the same thing. We need a new bone collector. And I thought to myself, well, Sheree, you're supposed to be the bone collector. Why aren't you telling everything? Why are you so selective in what you tell? Now, listen, if the producers are putting you up to be the bone collector, it only works if both parties know the other party's talking trash. It doesn't work for one person to slander the other one, and then there's nothing that comes of it because the other person doesn't know. Like, isn't the point of stirring the pot to get these confrontations popping off? Like, isn't that the point? Like, otherwise, what are you doing, Sheree? I can see why she got fired. So when they're confronting Kim about, well, did you say it or did you not say it? She said, because Andy asked her about it, and she says, it was a figure of speech. How is somebody wanting to lick your box a figure of speech when you're acting like that's a real thing that happened? And so Andy says to her, it's on tape. Like, people were saying it's on tape. And she told Andy, don't make me out to be a liar, Andy. Who's making you out to be a liar? You said it, we saw it, it's on the tape, the flashback. Kim was drowning. She was drowning out there completely. They get back into the roach video again, y'all. And, you know, Kim is saying, you know, she never showed it to Sheree, never showed it at the restaurant. She didn't understand, you know, any of this. And so they're like, you didn't show her at the restaurant? And he's like, are you sure you didn't show her at the restaurant? And she's like, no, I never did. I would never do that because if I was going to show it to Sheree, I would have shown it to everybody. So then Sheree's like, I don't remember. I don't remember if I had looked at it at the restaurant. And Kenya's like, production, roll the tape. Sure enough, right there, we all knew. They showed the flashback of, you know, Kim showing Sheree the video, and they're laughing about it and everything. I mean, Kim was busted all over the place. All over the place. Andy asks Kim, or says he wants to get into the whole roaches as a metaphor for racism. He's trying to understand because Nene called Brielle and Kim racist trash for posting that video, and Kim was like, I'm not a racist, I'm not a racist. And you know, because Andy's trying to understand, how do you get from roaches to racism? So, you know, Nene's like, look, let somebody else speak because, you know, everybody feels some type of way about it. So Kandi tries to explain the relationship between the projects and roaches and how black folks are associated with projects and etc. Kandi says when an African-American person gets to a certain level, they don't want to be associated with projects or any of that stuff. You know what I mean? It's kind of, they go hand in hand. And so Kenya says it's kind of akin to watermelon and monkeys. There's certain things that are associated with the black race as racist. And so if you're not in that and you've never experienced that, it's kind of hard for you to understand that. So I think they tried to explain that. It didn't land with Kim. She's like, whatever, a roach is a roach is a roach is a roach, and it wasn't racist, and I don't care. She had enough. She felt like she'd been on the hot seat long enough. She said, I'm leaving, I can't take anymore, and she left. Now, she was out there a good 50 minutes of the show, 50, which was way longer than I thought she was going to be out there. So she takes off. So once Kim leaves, they start to kind of wrap things up, you know, and Andy asks everybody, do they have any regrets from the show? And so Kenya says she regrets how she acted in Houston when she popped off at Shamia and she lost her temper, because that was a really bad look, really bad. So she felt bad about that and said it was a teachable moment. So then Andy said, oh, that's good. So he starts asking everybody what their teachable moments are. Excuse me. So that was hers. Nene said she regrets what happened with the heckler. You know, she regrets how she responded. Portia said she's more humble now after this season. She's come away from that. Cynthia says that she has learned not to respond to every idiot that has a comment. Now, I don't know what she's talking about because I don't follow her on social media. Maybe she's talking about that. I hope she's not talking about Eva telling her what happened with Will, or Portia telling her. I mean, because they're not idiots and they're trying to help yourself, and she's still caping for Will even to this day, who ain't caping for her. So I don't know what that was about. She says she was older now and, you know, wiser or whatever, but I don't know, you guys. So Sheree said she's learned that this dynamic in the group has changed, and that there are certain things people don't want to talk about, but she'll talk about them. Again, what? Because you left out a whole lot of things you could have been talking about and, you know, carrying the bone everywhere else, but that's her teachable moment, right? But she's fired, so it doesn't even matter. Kandi says she regrets the fact that she did not know about Kim saying that about her, and because she really would have preferred to have the chance to confront her on the show. She said had she known that information, that whole little sit down she had would have gone a whole lot different. And I bet it would have. I bet it would have. And I'm really surprised the producer didn't even tell Sheree to say something. Maybe they were scared of last season and the whole rape thing. I don't know, but it's kind of weird, you know? I mean, the producer's job is to keep mess going, and I don't know what happened with that. Very weird. So that was it. Or was it? That's what they would have had you believe, right? So they're all saying, okay, good, it's over. I'm glad it's over. All the ladies are leaving, whatever. And all of a sudden, the cameras go to the women's restroom, and you see a producer say, I need Andy and a camera. So they go get Andy off the stage. All the women are on the back high-fiving. We're done, kicking off the heels and such. Andy goes in the bathroom. Kim is in there upset. She was like, Andy, I couldn't take anymore. How much more can I take out there? She was so upset about her being read to death on that couch, and she felt very offended and hurt. And so Croy was saying, Andy, you're in charge. You could have put a stop to it. And like, he was all riled up too. And I'm like, okay. So Kim goes off on this whole rant, and she's like, how would you have felt with 5 African-American women attacking you? And I'm just like, okay, now why do they have to be African-American? Like, if she had been on New York, or if she had been on New Jersey, where those women really get in your face and tell you about yourself to your face and don't wait for a reunion, would she have said the same thing? Like, did it make a difference that they were African American, that she felt so attacked and ganged up on? I mean, Kim did all this on her own. She came to the season, you know, talking trash and being rude and hostile the whole time. But what the real thing was, that was just the taste of it. So while she's in the bathroom and she's acting up and she's all upset, Sheree comes in and she says, Sheree, I'm so upset with you. You didn't have my back. You didn't try to defend me. And Sheree was like, oh, I don't want you to feel like that. And she said, Portia defended me a little bit, but you didn't. I thought you were going to have my back. And so Sheree was like, I don't want you to feel like that. And she went on and on. So she said, this whole racism thing is BS. And you know it, Sheree. They've been trying to say this for a long time. Oh, really? But social media wasn't a thing. And racism wasn't really real back then. And I was like, what? What do you mean? A, they've been telling you you've been racist for a long time and no one has really given it traction. 2, social media wasn't a thing and racism wasn't real. It's always been real. And see, that goes to show that when you've been living in your own little world for a long time and you're used to things being a certain way and people aren't really confronting you and checking you, you just behave that way for a long time and you get away with it thinking there's nothing wrong with it. And see, I think what the real thing is, you know, Kim's been saying these slick comments since she's been on the show. And she makes these little accusations and she says these little digs and she does do things that are racist. And she says things that are racist. And no one has ever really checked her. And I've never understood that. I mean, it was like the women were just afraid to confront her or didn't want to speak up or didn't want to push too hard. I don't know. But I think she went too far this season and the women weren't having it. And they're finally standing up and saying enough's enough. And so she just couldn't take it. And so, you know, she even said to Andy, none of that was positive. And Andy finally said, what would you have had me do? And she says, well, nothing was positive. I have a wonderful, successful marriage. I have beautiful kids. And Andy says, look, I'm going to just be real with you. Nothing you did this season was positive. It was all negative. You came on here combative. I'm sorry, that was your story. That's all you, boo. On you. So it ended with him giving her a hug, and you know, Croy didn't say anything. He just like sat there looking crazy, like shocked that anything was going on. And I I'm just like, I have no sympathy for Kim. See, if they had been checking her all along in the moment when she said things and did things and thought she was too good for the show and was walking off sets and refusing to film and not going on trips, see, they were letting her get away with all this stuff. And so it wasn't just the cast. The producers and whoever else in the background were catering and enabling this behavior. So, you know, Kim's wrong. And that's what she thought it was okay to continue doing what she's doing. And if you notice, if you remember when, you know, she and Nene were getting into it, she kept telling Nene, oh, you're getting loud. You're getting loud. And isn't that one of the stereotypical things people say about black women? Oh, she's loud and she's getting up and she's just like, you weren't sitting there screaming, Kim. You weren't sitting there getting all loud and having your hands all up and cussing folks out and saying things. You weren't doing that. But that's only specific to a black woman when she gets upset. No. So y'all, I thought this reunion was better than the other two. A lot to talk about. Took an extreme left there at the end, y'all. I didn't see that coming at all. I'm glad it happened. Kim needed to be exposed. I really think that there's probably more, she says, behind the scenes that we don't even know, you know. So I'm sure she's gonna spin it, y'all. I went on social media last night just to see what the women were thinking once they saw that, and it seemed like Nene was the only one really talking about that, you know. But I don't know. I did see the beginning of Watch What Happens Live, and Andy said that whole scene in the bathroom lasted 40 minutes of Kim ranting and raving and going on and on and on. Oh, you know what, Kim? Do better. Do better. It's all your fault. And that's it. Did you guys see whenever the producer came to get Andy and they told him what was going on? And shout out to that producer, man. She's on her job. Give that woman a raise for knowing. Who knows how much foolishness that producer heard before she said, we need Andy and a camera. I mean, I'm sure that Kim was going all the way off in that bathroom, and who knows the precious jewels we didn't get to hear. But shout out to her for knowing and having the wisdom to go get that stuff on tape. They went and got Andy. Andy was like, oh, what? Okay, she wants to talk to me. And if you guys see him walking off the set to go to the bathroom, he has this grin on his face, you guys. I was like, look at Andy. He knows this is going to be ratings gold. He already knows. He can't even wait. You know, he wasn't bothered by what he heard the producer say about Kim going off. He's like, yes, get the cameras, let's go. So anyway, guys, what did y'all think of part 3 of the reunion? I thought it was good. I love the tea being spilled all over Kim's behind. And that's the thing. I mean, she has, you know, she's got a whole bunch of dirt. And those women were not willing to say anything about her. The whole time they protected her for seasons. And the other thing is, one thing Kim said, you know, when she was confronting Andy in the bathroom, she said, well, Andy, you won't even bring on another white woman in the show. This is why you can't find another white woman to come on the show, because no one's dumb enough to come on here. Well, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with these black women. You came on here acting a fool and attacking everybody like you were greater than them. Anybody who comes on this show, black, white, green, purple, whatever, you talk trash, accuse people of being on drugs, which I forgot to mention, her accusing Nene of being on drugs. You do all that stuff, and guess what? You're going to get confronted. I'm sorry. You're going to get slapped down. It's not a racist thing. It's the fact that you're talking trash and people are going to defend themselves. So anyway, she says that, you know, Andy, you can't find somebody because, you know, no one's dumb enough to come on here. And I just thought, you know, well, I've always wondered, you know, why do they need a white person on Atlanta? I don't mind them having a white person on Atlanta, but I watch all the franchises, and none of the franchises are inclusive or diverse. They're all very homogenous, and that's fine if that's how they want to do it. But it's only Atlanta that they are like really trying to find another person to be on there. But really, Kim hasn't been on there in 5 years. And her being there or not being there didn't hurt the ratings. It's clear they don't need to add a white person there just for whatever reason. But I thought that was very interesting that she said that. Like, they are actively trying to find somebody. And why? You know, Kim added no value to that show. Period. So anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents. This went on longer than I thought it was going to be. And I'm really interested to hear what you guys thought about it. So leave me a comment below, guys. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode, this reunion part 3, y'all. It was a lot A lot more than I expected. Lots of tea got spilled. What do y'all think about Nene and Tyrone? Do y'all think that she really did all that up to that man? I think so. I mean, otherwise it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. She wouldn't have got so fired up about him saying that they had something going on if she didn't want that true tea to come out. Anyway, guys, let me go. I'm running out of my voice here. My throat is on fire. Let me know. We'll talk about it. Thanks for watching.